Right then, lads and lasses, gather round and listen up. This is the story of Douglas Motorcycles, a name that once roared across the British Isles. Picture it, 1882, Bristol, England. Two brothers, William and Edwin Douglas, started a little metalworking shop. Nothing fancy, mind you, they were just tinkering about, making components for bicycles. Bicycle tubes, to be precise. Not exactly the stuff of legends, but it was a start. Now these Douglas boys, they were ambitious, they could smell the future and it smelled like petrol. By 1907, those bicycle tubes had morphed into something far more exciting, motorcycles. Yes sir, Douglas Motorcycles was officially in the game. Their first machine was a far cry from the superbikes of today, but it was a start, a two-wheeled promise of things to come, and come they did, with a vengeance, driven by the relentless spirit of the Douglas brothers. Now, the motorcycle world back then was a bit of a free-for-all. Engines spluttering, chains snapping, the whole lot. The Douglas brothers, however, they were different. They weren't just throwing engines on frames and hoping for the best. They were innovators, engineers with grease under their fingernails and dreams in their eyes. In a stroke of genius, they introduced the world to their secret weapon, the air-cooled flat-twin engine. This wasn't just any old engine, no sir. This was a masterpiece of simplicity and power. Smooth, reliable, and powerful, it set the standard for motorcycle engines for years to come. The competition, they scoffed. But the laughter died in their throats when they saw what this engine could do. The Douglas Flat Twin, it was a game changer. Now, any self-respecting motorcycle manufacturer worth its salt has to prove itself on the track, right? And Douglas, well, they were itching to show the world what they were made of. So where do you go when you want to separate the men from the boys, the wheat from the chaff? The Isle of Man TT, of course. The Isle of Man TT, for those of you who've been living under a rock, is the most grueling, the most legendary motorcycle race in the world. And Douglas, they took to it like ducks to water. Victory after victory, they racked up the wins, their flat twin engines roaring like lions on the mountain course. The competition, those big names with their fancy engines, they could only watch in astonishment. Douglas, the underdog, the quiet achiever, had arrived, and the world took notice. Section 4. Wartime service. The Douglas 2 and 3/4 HP. Then came the First World War, a time when men and machines were pushed to their absolute limits. And Douglas, they answered the call to duty, churning out motorcycles for the war effort. The 2 and 3/4 HP model, that was their workhorse. Simple, reliable. It could handle anything the trenches could throw at it. From the mud of Flanders to the sands of the Middle East, the Douglas 2 and 3/4 HP became a familiar sight. It carried messages, transported troops, and even served as mobile machine gun platforms. Section 5. A legacy remembered, innovation and craftsmanship. Sadly, all good things must come to an end. The Second World War took its toll on Douglas, as it did on so many others. And by 1957, the factory doors closed for the last time. But the legacy of Douglas Motorcycles, that lived on. They may be gone, but they're certainly not forgotten. Those flat twin engines, they still fire up the hearts of enthusiasts around the world. So, there you have it, the story of Douglas Motorcycles. A story of innovation, of grit, of triumph, and yes, of eventual decline. But above all, a story that reminds us that true legends never truly die. They live on in the roar of an engine, in the glint of chrome, in the hearts of those who appreciate craftsmanship and daring. Cheers to that.